Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to andymark.com and keep your team inspired. And by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Region Recap. In this first segment for the night, Team NEUA You Want It is going to cover the Northeast region of First Teams. It's been a busy week. We got a lot to get through, so we're going to jump right into it. Reporting for First Updates Now, I'm Libby.
I'm Audrey.
I'm Garrison.
And I'm Sam.
So we have a lot of events here on the list leading up to a relatively quiet week 5 next week. So let's just roll through it. So I will start with what would have been the final week in MAR in Mid-Atlantic. So we'll start with Montgomery. Power and the drama clearly ended up in the number 1 spot with 225 Techfire ranking first, selecting team 25, Raider Robotics. Feel bad for the MCs, too many 2s and 5s. With both of them already owning a banner for the year, they seemed poised and ready to take it all with their third partner, team 5992, the Pirates from West Orange. Ready to duke it out were a couple of very, very scary alliances, and I'll get into it in a second, but our first, one of them was in the bracket was 1676, 75, 5684. Whew, okay. 222, 341, 4653. Also strong. 3314, 56, 4. I typed that wrong. Oh, Lord. I am not good at numbers. Anyway, we had tons and tons of firepower going into the bracket. It was awesome. I actually stopped by in person, and it was good. So we'll get into it. So with some strong matches in the quarterfinals, including quite an intense tiebreaker for the Pioneers Alliance, the semifinals were shaping up to be fun. 25 and 22-25 set out to do what they knew best. They had their match flow down. Hilariously enough, they made 2 matches with the exact same score in the semis. The formula works. Don't change it. Their match flow as an alliance by this point was incredible. As soon as they knew they had a good insurance policy on the scale, 225 did this stellar job of attacking away switch. 5992 served an amazing purpose as well as their home switch and exchange experts. 25 just kept serving power cubes up high. The 1676 Alliance's wings just could not lift them up high enough, sending the Pioneer Raider Iron Mechs Alliance home in the semifinals. Across the bracket, though, was a battle all their own. 222, who's no stranger to the finals this year, and 341 teamed up for a pretty dominating performance. It was a little bit scary. 341 landing their scale Auton gave them a nice boost in their first semifinal match. Both scale bots on either side were pretty even in terms of speed on their cycles. Even just that one cube, we know, can make a difference in this game. Match 2 tied and autonomous. The first half of the match had the scale tipping back and forth nearly constantly. It was so much fun to watch. Truly, just like, boop, but it was amazing. But Blue was able to pick the pace up just a little bit with a well-timed boost. They were able to pull ahead just enough. Dropped cubes were all over the place for both sides, which is something I think we're still going to continue to see as gameplay evolves. You know, you got this huge scale, you got 2 or 3 rows of cubes on it. Eventually, you're going to miss. You're going to drop things off. So it was, I mean, I think that's going to continue, but ultimately 2 very, very clean hangs for the Blue Alliance. 222 will be back to face 25 in the finals as they did 2 weeks ago. Finals begin with 225's 2-cube crossover Auton against 341 same side. Each team dropped a cube at some point in their Autons, but Blue had the advantage. They got their first one down. 225 and 25 had this beautiful synergy in cycles. Even though they were dropping their cubes at the same time, they just never managed to get in each other's way, which is very impressive. Once the scale was fully on their side, 225 kept going back to that away switch. It kept 222 on their toes throughout their cycles. Meanwhile, Blue kept getting plagued by those dropped and missed cubes. It's tough with that launch onto the scale, especially when the scale is pretty high. They didn't manage to get the scale back to the Blue side until the score had pulled too far ahead. Even with some incredible smart power-up play by 222 and 341, they just could not manage to bring it back. In Finals 2, 225's 3-cube auto came out to play. It's incredibly smooth. Watched it in person. Wanted to watch it again, so I went home and watched it on the webcast. And with that commanding of a lead on the scale, 225 was able to spend some time playing defense. Struggled a little more with holding onto the cubes in their first few teleop cycles, which, again, it's a theme here, I guess. Blue worked really hard to get the scale back. Clever with power-up use again. Halfway through the match, Red was already 100 points ahead. This is where we talk about blowouts, right? 46-53 played some really pushy defense on 225 as they tried to play away switch, and it ended with 225 dropping comms, sitting out by the blue player station. It's not anyone's favorite way to win, but they did pull through, bringing home another blue banner, which is pretty fantastic, and giving Team 5992 their very, very first. I really do have to hand it to 341 and 222, though. They had some insane cube throughput, so do not count them out as we inch closer to District Championship. Congratulations also go to 4575, the Tin Mints, on Engineering Inspiration, and 3637, the Daleks, for their very first blue banner, their first Chairman's Award.
All right, let's head up north to Lewiston, Maine, where 40 teams competed for a second time this weekend at the New England Pine Tree District event. We had some tough competition coming into this event, with a high range of top-tier teams spanning from scale robots such as Bert, Orange Chaos, and the Grasshopper Machines to our fast and low switch robots like 6329 Buck's Wrath, and a few outliers that fell in between, like 5687. Even through qualifications, we demonstrated a high level of match play. Every robot in the top 8 landed a ranking score of above 2. But it would be 133 Bert who took the top seed with a ranking score of 2.91. From there, they selected a robot that could play the switch, the scale, everything really. Team 5687, the outliers. An interesting note at this district event. We're starting to see teams who design for the scale and are getting their elevators tuned in enough and their drivers practiced enough to start providing a deepness to this alliance selections that we haven't seen in past weeks. A few times we've seen the switch vault specialists seed high and get declined in alliance selections in favor of a switch robot or a scale robot that was better than them. However, 4564, the second seed, knew that that wouldn't be the case this week and made an interesting strategic decision here based on the depth of the event and picked the stellar switch robot 6329. Coming around the back, they were still able to snag Team 4906, the collective, to help them out with the scale. That was definitely the right decision for that alliance, and the first and second seeds tore up their sides of the bracket and took them by storm. There were a few key takeaways from these playoff matches that are going to be important in the coming weeks. First off, scale autos. Super important if you want to get ahead in teleop. If you start with a deficit on your side of 1 or 2 cubes, it's going to be much harder to come back from it at the start of tele. The second insight through playoffs is that good switch robots are nothing to sneeze at. We saw it last week at the New York Tech Valley Regional, but 1493. But if you're playing all 3 robots on the scale at the beginning, it's really hard to get your switch back up once a good switch robot's been down there. And in semis 2-2, 6329 proved that they too were hard to get back up once they'd fallen down. In a rather unfavorable turn of events, 6329 fell in between 2 opposing robots who then pushed onto the already fallen Buck's Wrath robot. This unfortunately gave a double yellow disqualification to the 3rd seed alliance, but didn't end up affecting the overall win of the 2nd seed. And so we entered finals. On the 1 seed side, we had already had 2 blue banners, and on the blue side, we already had 1 red medal, but with 2 really great matches, the 1 seed would take the event, with 5687 switching off to play the switch against Buck's Wrath, and 133 challenging both 4564 and 4906 for the scale. I really can't wait to see how these alliances evolve once we hit district championships, what strategies they'll bring up, and where we're going from here. Also, congrats to 172 for their engineering inspiration, and for 133 with their double blue Kling Bling Chairman's Award.
For many, the Hudson Valley Regional was the first competition for them, despite it being week 4, HDR is the first downstate regional out of the year. A few of the teams came in with events under their belt, notably 2590 Nemesis and 694 Stiples, and these plays proved very important. 2590, coming off an appearance in the finals at their last district event, took the top spot from the beginning and never looked back. The other 2 teams that looked very strong were 694 and 1796, as mostly expected. After the 3 teams, no one really stood out. After 70 qualification rounds, 2590 seeded first, followed by 694 and 1796. This gave 2590 an almost automatic win on paper, no matter who they picked. They decided on 1796 and formed what in every way looks like an unbeatable alliance. And well, yeah, they were unbeatable, winning the event with no alliance even challenging them. In fact, they only won a single match in eliminations by less than 100 points, and that was Final 2 when they won by a still not even close to small margin of 91 points. Despite this, the eliminations were not without a little bit of drama. The depth of this event was really shown by 3 backup robots needing to be called through eliminations one of which who was an alliance captain. It's also definitely worth mentioning that Team 1796 the Robo Tigers not only won the event, but they achieved gold cling bling, winning the Regional Chairman's Award as well.
All right, moving on to Rhode Island. First things first, I told y'all that 63-28 was the best second-year team in first, and I was right. They had a Chairman's Award win a few weeks ago in Bridgewater, but they didn't quite bring it all the way home with their robot. This week, they definitely did. They seeded first overall, which is impressive, and then you look at the list of teams that they were up against. 2168, the Aluminum Falcons had 2 banners in 2 weeks coming to Rhode Island, and they were looking to go for a third this week. Last week in Reading, 125, the Neutrons walked away with a Chairman's Award themselves after losing in the finals for the second time this year. And Team 78 Airstrike also has 2 finalist appearances under their belt this year, but they experimented with a freshman drive team on the first day of the event, which really brought down their level of performance significantly. Now, I mentioned 63-28. They seeded first, and they ended up picking the Aluminum Falcons to take flight with them first overall. The Neutrons were picked second by 58-46, the South Coast Corsairs, a solid low bot, and then the 6th Alliance captain, 32-36, Triforce, decided to throw back to week 1 at WPI, and they picked 1100, the T-Hawks. Mechanical Advantage was confident enough in their own ability, as well as that of their second pick, 41-76 Iron Tigers, to take the field in quarterfinal 1 without their first pick, Aluminum Falcons. So they went out there, and they still won by almost 200 points in the first match. Quarters were obviously no problem for them. The semis were a little bit dicier when they ran up against the 4 seed, 1729 Inconceivable, 3461 Operation Peace, and 1153 Walpole Revolution. Despite losing their second match and fighting a close call in the tiebreaker, mechanical failures continued to plague the number 1 seed Alliance as they moved to the finals. Other side bracket was super fun to watch as the 2 seed brushed past the quarters after a 190, pinned 125 under their scale and died, giving them a red card. And the 3rd seed, 5,000, the Hammerheads, were declined, and they really struggled to put together a winning strategy as they were just outgunned by the 6th seed. Then the 6th seed stunned everybody in the building as they took down the Neutrons at 58-46 in 2 matches because the Neutrons were the only scale bot in their alliance, and they could not keep up with 1100 and Triforce. The finals were wicked close, and it came down to who could knock off less cubes when they were trying to score. And in the end, it was 21-68's experience and 63-28's composure that put them over the top in a pretty messy win. But any win with this many mechanical mishaps is even more impressive to me. And I got to say congratulations to Mechanical Advantage, the Aluminum Falcons, and the Iron Tigers on their banners. And also congratulations to 78 Airstrike on the Chairman's Award as well.
Yeah, I think that cube knockoff is really starting to become a part of the game as gameplay evolves. So hopefully we see fewer cubes cascading to the ground in future weeks. Our final recap for the week is the Mid-Atlantic Seneca District. So this is pretty cool. So the first Mid-Atlantic Seneca District was the closest to call event in first Mid-Atlantic, or district events at least, in 2018. The gap between the first and the 16th best robot at this event was much smaller than a typical bar event, resulting in 5 very evenly matched alliances coming out of alliance selection. So we'll start with quarterfinals. 1v8. Despite having very evenly matched teleop firepower, the number 8 alliance was able to knock the first seed out in 2 matches because of their more accurate and complex autonomous modes that better prepared them to enter tele. Again, scale auton, it's starting to become the thing. If you don't have it, you're going to need it. For Alliance 2, 3, and 4, we're all pretty evenly matched with each other, but took a clean sweep of their quarterfinal opponents. So in the semifinals, you can start to see that matchup coming a little bit better. So both of the semifinal series went to 3 matches with the lower seeded Alliance advancing to finals. Alliance 4 takes the first match of the series because of 223's well-placed autonomous scale cube and 1712's aggression on the away switch. The strategy doesn't quite catch up as well for them in match 2 and 3, with the one-sided configuration turning into the alternating configuration, which made it a lot harder for the Blue Alliance to score cubes deep down on the field. In match 3, 1712 and 223 focus exclusively on the switches, ignoring the scale, but the bottleneck of the alternating configuration makes it really hard for them to take the away switch early enough to win the match. The 2v3 series in semifinals was all about the Auton battle between 1640, 834, 365. 1640 has the event's fastest scale and crossover scale autons, and 365 has the best two-scale cube auton. We'll see how it matches up against 3 of our champs, I guess. Anyway, in the first match, 1640 scores quickly, straight ahead. 365 crosses over, eventually neutralizing the scale and autonomous. With an evenly matched scale and vault battle in Teleop, both alliances enter the end game with about 250 points. Pretty impressive to keep tied with 250. Blue wins with their double climb. Despite the style points, 365 should have earned with their flip over climb. It was pretty great. We were at Montgomery and getting some Snapchats of the flip over climb. The next move, 834 and 1640 double team the scale in autumn with 1640 successfully crossing over. 365 is just inches short of a successful 2 cube, which would have neutralized the scale. The combined Teleop might of Mo Soup reclaims the scale anyway to take match 2. The rubber match, same autonomous battle in match 1. 365's crossover misses it. Again, we're coming right on back to scale auton mattering so much. Despite the stronger teleoperated throughput on the scale, Red is only able to reclaim it late in the match, bringing their eliminations run to an end. The cool thing in the finals, which is pretty fantastic, this is the 6th time that this season in Power Up that an 8th seed has gotten past the quarterfinals, and it was the first time that the 8th alliance made it to finals in the entire Power Up season so far. So Alliance 8 had perhaps the hardest fought path to finals. They were not able to overcome the impressive autonomous coordination and cluttered scale scoring ability of Alliance 3. Late in Finals 1, 1391 realizes they need to abandon the scale, hit the away switch, but the strategy is unfortunately too little too late. Finals 2 sees 1391 tie 834 on the scale in autonomous mode, but 1640 quickly crosses over to provide a blue scale advantage. Red is able to steal the scale away for only 30 seconds in tele-operated mode, which put 834, 1640, and 2600 as our Seneca District winners. Congratulations go as well to Team 1391 Metal Moose for their engineering inspiration, and Team 272, the Cyber Crusaders, on their Chairman's Award. We will see them at Lehigh.
All right, jumping off from that Chairman's Award, our discussion topic for the week, we'd like to take the time to kind of highlight some of the teams that pursue the highest award in first, but don't always get the recognition they deserve. So here are some of our top Chairman's teams from this year and a few predictions for the few events that we have left this season.
So I want to start off by highlighting some of the teams that I think are going to be really competitive at the New England District Championships for Chairman's this year. And it definitely starts off with Team 125, the Neutrons. They are leading the pack for Chairman's this year in New England. I mean, every year in New England. And Chairman's is all about the measurable impact a team has on its community. So let's throw out a few numbers that the Neutrons give. They've started 16 FRC teams and 28 total robotics teams. They mentor 71 teams and provide resources for all the FRC teams in the world. And 100% of their students mentor or volunteer use STEM programs. But for me, I mean, all of that's really impressive, but is what really stands out for them year after year is the impact that they have on their students and the community around them. I mean, other teams look to emulate these guys, and it's really a culture thing. And I know you hear that about other teams, but I mean, let's look at the makeup. 12 languages spoken, 70% ethnic minorities, and 7 different high schools represented. I mean, to reach such a vast and diverse group of young people really is what makes them so impressive. And I am rooting for them so hard at district championships. And then I also want to mention 6328 Mechanical Advantage. I've talked about them on the show all the time. Best second year team in first. And they do FLL and junior FLL like nobody else. They are beyond incredible. And they work year round to make all of those teams feel like their family. And finally, my last shout out goes to 558, the Robo Squad, Elm City Robo Squad. They have their rent-to-mentor program in Connecticut, which is awesome. One of the more creative ideas I've seen in the last couple of years to really get out there and mentor other teams. But I want to hear what y'all have in the other regions, like what's going on in Mar.
Yeah, Mid-Atlantic Chairman teams with the Hatboro Horsham reschedule aren't locked in yet. But from what we have on the board, there's a lot of incredibly strong programs looking for one of the 2 Mid-Atlantic RCAs. Back in Chairman's game for the first time since 2014 is Team 11 Mort. It seems like they've really stepped up their Mort support resources and are back to serving as a knowledge base for other teams. Focusing their submission this year on the integration with the school district is 1923, with 45 other first teams at the K-8 level, and a focus on more first-specific outreach events than community service initiatives. The Midnight Inventors have a strong feeder program that sustains the FRC team. Also a strong market contender who missed out last year's 321 Robo Lancers. The impact in the Philadelphia area is incredible. They've got a lot of FTC and FLL as well, and it's good to see them back in contention.
Yeah, so we've got, I love how we split New York. We've got our downstate bubble here, but we've got a couple of chairman's predictions, thoughts as far as downstate. So for New York City, there's 694 who had chairman's in South Florida last year. They've got this event called Sty Splash. It's an FRC learning meetup. You've got other EI and chairman's teams, 1660, 1796, who have already had a chairman's award this year. But, just really strong teams that you should go talk to, go learn from. 1796 has this competition assistance program where they're helping out other teams at events. Going into SBPLI 1, which is still, I don't know how we're going to call this. Anyway, you've got 3646, who was a chairman's finalist at championship last year. They've essentially, started and seeded all of the first programs in Turkey. There's a lot of international humanitarian work. You got 2869, chairman's at SBPLI last year. They hosted Regal Eagle Rampage this year, which was the only week 0 in the area. I know I loved watching it. And then we've got 2638, who has chairmans from FLR in 2016. On the other half of SBPLI, SBPLI 2, is the interesting thing about SBPLI, the Long Island Regionals, no one wins chairmans twice. So it's going to be an interesting kind of thing. In their 18 years of history, they don't repeat. So you've got 329 coming in with this crazy laundry list of EI at HVR, Utah, SBPLI, Chesapeake, just all sorts of events wherever they go. It seems like EI is their thing. But they do a ton of international outreach, traveling down to South America. You've got 353 who keeps up outreach. They've kind of like some of the MAR teams, out of the bubble for a while, but hoping to come back in. And then you've also got 2601, who has not had a chairman's yet, but was EI in 2015. A lot to do with opening their practice field and being resources for teams every single year.
All right, so let's move upstate New York, because we tended to split it there. But I heard some of you guys talking about the ideal progression of programs, and whenever I hear a team like that, my mind immediately jumps to 3015 and 3044, JFLL to FLL to FTC to FRC. Those upstate New York teams really go from kindergarten to 12th grade. And these two teams really embrace the message of STEM through their school and their community. Starting with Ranger Robotics, the impact that they've had on the Rochester area just in the past few years has been huge. Through a number of kickoffs, 20 different first teams just at their school, and the energy that the team brings to spreading the message to upstate New York and really the world has set a standard and is really leading our Western New York teams. Going up just a few numbers to 3044, we've got Oxby 4, a team who is in the house and is the embodiment of gracious professionalism. Each year, they host a great off-season event, hold so many fundraisers and events I don't have enough fingers to count. And there are some of the most spirited people I've had the pleasure of working with. So watch out for them at some of their events and maybe at the championship level too.
All right, now as a preview for tomorrow night's FRC Top 25, we're going to give you a preview of the top 10 list of the Northeast region this week. And let's get it started off. In the number 1 spot is Team 225 Techfire. And number 2 is Team 2590 Nemesis. Number 3 is 133 Burt. And the 4th spot is 125 The Neutrons. And the 5th spot, 25 Raider Robotics. 6 is 5687 The Outliers. 7 is 4564 Orange Chaos. 8, 303 The Test Team, and the 9th spot is Team 6329 Bucks Wrath. And finally, rounding out the top 10 is 2168 The Aluminum Falcons. Now, real quick, I want to hear from each of you one team that's not on that list and why they should be.
Ooh, my team's on that list, but definitely 2590. Their dominance at HVR was very impressive. They had a perfect 18-0. Every match they played was almost over before it started. Their 3 Iron Cross climb was executed well, and their elevator handles the scale piece.
Yep, having played with them, totally agree. They're fantastic. I love the robot. I want to see some love for 1640. Despite not having the highest cube scored volume at Seneca, the robot has incredible strategic depth and adaptability. Their scale auto's fast. Their crossover scale auto is really reliable. Like they're fantastic. They're so precise at placement. I think they're going to be one of those valuable scale robots in Mid-Atlantic when there are already 6 or more cubes on the scale.
All right, just mirroring what all of you have said, my teams are basically on there. But I got to give a shout out to Team 95, the Grasshoppers, who can really, score on the scale. And they're pretty good at it, too. Expect them to really hop up the ranks at any district champs coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, and I've got 63-28 mechanical advantage. Enough said. I've talked about them enough. They should be on that list. It's ridiculous that they're not. People should vote more, but whatever.
All right. So moving on to next week, we only have 2 events in the Northeast. So Libby, can you start us off? What's going on in the North?
Absolutely. So Hatboro Horsham finally happening. A very different Hatboro than it was going to be week 1. Everyone's played at least once. They've shaken the robots out. It's really down to getting those last few points and their plays in before district championship. Teams to keep an eye on: 25, 2 banners already. Is everyone else going to be catching up? They're in amazing shape, but is everyone catching up to them now? 103, back in the early season, the Martian called them a dark horse, and they got wrecked on the forums for it. Their performance is finalist at Springside Chestnut Hill. They're on display. They've got a solid machine. I think they're hungry to bring home gold this time. 1218, another clean robot with a lot of potential, hoping to make a last stand before a district championship. They played a little bit of everything in the matches that I've watched of theirs, so I want to see what they choose to focus on. 1257, a machine that was very sneakily under my radar at Mount Olive, but they shouldn't be underestimated. They're very good at sideways cubes, which is becoming more and more of a necessary skill as gameplay evolves and teams run out of stuff to do without running to the portals. Goes without saying, 2590, a silver and a gold already this year. It is not a stretch of the imagination to say that these guys will be in finals contention again. We played with them at Bridgewater on X23. Their robot's so solid. Now that they've got match flow figured out, they've got their time on the field, they're going to be fantastic. And my last kind of shout out, 5895. At their first event, they had a bit of an explosive start with some early machine failures, but they came back to rank first at Seneca. They got knocked out in one of the few 1v8 upsets this year, but I think they will be ready to rock at Hatboro and redeem themselves. So we're going to hope that the lights stay on this time so we can get ready for Mid-Atlantic District Championship. But what else is going on this coming weekend in New England?
Well, we've only got one New England event this weekend. It's the University of New Hampshire, and it's not really going to be much of a contest, I hate to say. 15-19 and 3-19 are coming in 1 and 2, and I don't think anybody's going to beat them. There's no double climbs. There's no great scale bots there other than those 2. If somebody comes out with a crazy 4RP strategy, maybe they can seed first and take one of them. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you're going to see more blue banners for those 2 guys.
Fair enough. I think we've got those are just the 2 events that we've got in the NEUA You Want It team for week 5. So make sure to watch those on Blue Lions Game Day if you want to check them out. And that's it for us in the Northeast region. So thank you to everybody who has watched. If you want more First Robotics in your life and you like what we do, all that we ask is that you share the show with your teammates and your friends. We love watching Fun Nation grow. You can always support the channel by liking our social media accounts and following the stream. Or if you'd like to subscribe here on Twitch and more directly support our content creation, you can do that with Twitch Prime or just a few bucks a month. No matter what you do, we are delighted to have you on board. On behalf of myself, Audrey, Garrison, Samuel, and our producer, Nick, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you to all of our moderators in chat. Our next show is the Southern Fried Recap, and we will talk to you next week on Any Way You Want It.